The number one mistake in my now almost 4K hours of Rocket League is, without a doubt, using terrible settings. From putting hundreds of hours into playing KBM, to changing and learning my controller binds 2 times over, to not realizing I had twice the input lag I should have just from a bad controller. I've done it all. So to save you the time, energy, and headache of dealing with bad settings, I want to update you all on the do's and don'ts when it comes to settings in Rocket League. This is my ultimate settings guide. Also, I originally made this video for people in my coaching program, but I decided I wanted to give it away for free because why not? Let's get into the video. Okay, section number 1 is going to be gameplay. So on this section, there's not a whole lot to go over. The main thing here is going to be your client send rate, your service send rate, your bandwidth limit, and your input buffer. This is all going to depend on your type of internet, right? So I have a full, internet guide on how to optimize your internet for Rocket League so that you can have the lowest ping possible. But what I'd recommend you do if you don't want to, do all the work to get the lowest ping, or if you're on console, I would go into a private match, right? If I can just get in one real quick. And this is US Central, my closest server, just for the record. Okay, so we can see that with default, I'm averaging about 10 to 14 ping. I'll drive around for a little bit just so you guys can see, but it's around 10, 12, 14, it fluctuates. And now if I change this to STS and we drive around for a little bit, it's even lower, a bit lower, kind of the exact same. For me, it's the exact same because I have the best possible internet connection that you can have for Rocket League. But what I would do is drive around with these settings on and just try to find the one that's lowest for you. Something that you should for sure have on is the highest setting. For example, if I put on low on everything, you'll see that the ping goes way up, right? And it's still going to be pretty low, right? Because I have really low ping, but you want to make sure that these are all on high. That's for everyone. You want to be using as much of your internet on Rocket League as you can. And then here is what you should be playing around with. So that's kind of for the first setting, gameplay. Now, for the second setting, camera, right here, you can get super technical. Like I could spend hours, talking about every camera setting, every meta, what different regions use, whatever. But for a general rule of thumb, most camera settings are preference. And if you have Bacchus mod, you have access to all these people's camera settings. But let me go into free play really quick and kind of help you guys understand how the camera settings work. So the ranges for, I kind of skipped the training one here. If you'd like to use unlimited boost, you can. I don't really mess with this stuff. But for camera settings, the ranges that the pro players use are anywhere from 107 to 110. You're going to find more so in European players. They're going to have more so like 108s, maybe even 109, 107. And if you're wondering, why doesn't everyone just use 110? It's a common misconception that you should just use 110 automatically. The lower your FOV is, the closer you are to the center of your screen, which means that's the closer you are to your car. And why that's important is if you're someone who is a pretty ground-based player and you have the camera really close to your car, it makes it easier to dribble, makes it easier to flick, makes it easier to shoot. It makes all of these mechanics where you need to see the ball's direction of your car very easy. Not very easy, but significantly easier if you have the ball close to your car. So that's kind of why most people do this, and even it applies more so in the air too. If you're like going for flips, like flip resets, or double flip resets, or whatever it may be, if you have the camera closer to your car, you'll be able to see more detail and you'll be able to be more consistent with your mechanics. However, the downside is that you can't see as much of the field, right? So it's pretty minuscule, but if you're driving in this boost and there's someone just right past your camera, you won't be able to see them if you have a little bit lower camera, if you have a little bit lower FOV, but that's super like nitpicky. Now for distance distance isn't really a setting you change on your own. Distance and height go hand in hand, right? So you'll see people do like what I'm doing, 290, 110. Sometimes you'll see even 290, 100, but it's mainly going to be anywhere from 260. In Europe, you'll see 260, but mainly 260 to 290. So you'll see 260 and 90, you'll see 260, 100, 260, 110. You'll see 270, 90, 270, 100, 270, 110. You'll see 280, same thing, 290, same thing. So they all kind of go hand in hand. Now, if you want to know which camera setting you should use, it basically boils down to your preference. So if you ever watch any freestylers, this is exactly what their camera settings look like, right? It's very low to the ground. And the reason they do that is so when they're in the air, it's very, very easy to get flip resets, and it's very easy to make sure your first touch is really good. So if you're a freestyler, your odds are you're probably already using these camera settings. Now, the higher you go, the more ground-based you're gonna be, right? So if we go all the way up, right, to what I was using, even if we keep it on 90 height, even though it's technically lower, this is still going to be more ground-based, right? Because we can see much more detail on the car. You see that? And then if we go in the air, it's really not going to be as optimized as we could be, because it's like at a weird angle. Like we can't really see on the reverse of where the actual flip is going to happen. And then once we have 110, it kind of just helps you a bit even more see the detail over the car. And you can see with these settings, it makes it very easy to be grounded. And of course, because I've been playing for a while, I'm pretty decent in the air even with these settings, but these settings are more so ground oriented, if I'm being honest. So if you want to be air oriented, you want to go lower. If you want to be kind of in the middle, right? Like maybe a 280, 100 kind of player, maybe a hybrid kind of thing, you could do a mix of both, right? So here, mix of both, you can still get, you know, your flip resets, you can still do whatever, but I'm more of a ground player, so that's why I use this. Now, angle is kind of like, so if you're looking straight, you're gonna have, it's kind of hard to explain. The angle is how you're looking at your car, right? So like, you see how, like, if you move your joystick down, it's gonna be looking at the car like this. This is angle, right? The where you want to see your car. So if you're someone who likes to see your car a bit higher, you're gonna have a higher angle. If you want to see it lower, you're gonna have a lower angle. It's pretty self-explanatory. Maybe I said it backwards. Yeah, so the higher your angle, the further up you're gonna look, and the lower your angle, the further down you're gonna look. So I personally like to be at this kind of area. I don't know. Again, a lot of this, pretty much all of the camera settings are personal preference. But in terms of what the pro players use for each of these, again, it's 108 to 110. It's going to be 260 to 290. This is going to be 90 to 110. This is going to be -5 to -3. This one's going to be 0.45 to 0.65 stiffness. This is basically what stiffness does, is how far your camera zooms out once you reach full speed, right? So if you see, once I'm full speed, how far away my car is from my camera, right? Now that was on 0.60. Now if we go to 1, it will be the exact same the whole way through. See how my camera doesn't zoom out or anything, it just stays the exact same. Players like Flakes and Lethamyr use these settings. It's kind of what like Lethamyr is known for. And then if you have the complete opposite, it's going to change the absolute most the more you go. See how zoomed out my camera is? This is literally completely personal preference. There's really no right or wrong answer for this exact setting. I just think that looks a bit weird doing that. So again, I prefer the 0.60 option. Now with swivel speed, again, these last three are all completely preference. These you can get into a bit of a technicality, but these last three are really all preference. Swivel speed is your right joystick. It's whenever you move it down, it's how fast this moves, right? That's gyro, one of the coaches on my coaching program. But if we max out the swivel speed, we're going to be moving extremely fast when we move this around. And this kind of hurts my eyes a bit, and I don't really think it's a good idea to have it that high unless you're just kind of crazy. Same thing with, I don't remember what it was on. Same thing with transition speed. A lot of people will do this and it snaps, right? I don't like this at all. I'm literally getting a headache even doing that. And at the same time, I don't want it to be on the lowest because it's just taking too long to get information. and I kind of had to get used to the 1.7. What I'd recommend you do, if even this hurts your eyes, like if this is too snappy, what I would do is, because this is the highest until it actually snaps, like there's still the movement, but at 1.8 this is where it snaps, like there's really no movement. This is a complete snap, whereas 1.7 is the highest you can go with it still kind of moving. You see how it's not snapping? So what I would do if even that hurts your eyes is I would start at like 1.5 and then get used to that, and then progressively go up to 1.7. But I do genuinely believe 1.7 is a sweet spot, because most people, the snapping hurts their eyes, and I don't know, I don't think it looks that good anyways, but it is preference. But I do think 1.7 is the best, so that you can get information the quickest without, you know, snapping your neck back and forth. Demo transition time, I don't really know too much about this. It's kind of a newer setting. It's not that new anymore, but basically whenever you get demoed, it's the transition for that. So you want this as low as possible, I feel like, besides the hard cut. Like we don't want the hard cut because that's the same snap, and I can't get demoed here to show you. But maybe I can, like, I don't know. I don't think I can do anything there, but those are pretty much everything for the camera settings. Now onto the control settings. These first two settings are preference, and these last two are not preference. So for the steering sensitivity, what I would do is I would put the ball in my car, and then I would just start steering, and I'd find a sensitivity that you can control that's not too fast and it's not too slow. So for me, 165 is what I've been using for years, so I always stuck with it, and I don't know, it makes me feel really good. It's the normal setting. You'll find some people that use really high settings like 2 or like insane settings, but most people use anywhere from, let me look at it, anywhere from 1.25 to about 1.75, anywhere around that range. Same thing with aerial sensitivity. I don't even know why that wasn't a 1.65. It's supposed to be. And then with controller dead zone. Okay, this is very important. Probably the most important part of this video, because this is the whole like stick drift part. So for example, if we're on 0 stick drift, do you see how I'm not touching my controller right now? All I'm doing is going forward and it's drifting, right? That's because I have stick drift, and a lot of people have stick drift. So what you want to do is you want this on the lowest possible setting until it does not drift anymore. So we can see I'm still drifting a bit with 0.1, and then 0.2 would be good. Now the reason I had it on 0.4 is because sometimes if you move your controller around, it can get a bit higher in stick drift depending on how you move your joystick, and sometimes it can get worse. So to be safe, and so it doesn't turn on in the middle of a game, I do 0.4, but you can get away with doing 0.2. Now for this dodge dead zone, what this basically does is it shows how much you need to move your controller before a flip registers. I'm going to turn on my controller cam really quickly. Okay, so now with my controller cam enabled, you can see when I put my joystick down, it flips. But if I put my joystick down just a little bit, it doesn't flip, right? Like even if I'm holding this down the whole time, it doesn't flip. Whereas if I do that exact same movement, I'll even show you. If I do that exact same movement, you see how it's flipping? Even though I'm doing the exact same thing, you can even like take a screenshot or whatever and look at it. I'm doing the exact same movement. And so the higher your dead zone is, the less likely it's going to be that you're gonna accidentally backflip when you're going for a fast aerial, right? So if you're someone who backflips a lot when they're trying to fast aerial, that's why. So I'd recommend this setting anywhere from 0.45 to 0.7, more or less. It really does depend. I know I said earlier that it's like I don't even know what I said earlier if I'm being honest, but the normal range is about 0.55 for that. So yeah. In terms of interface, there's really not much to talk about here. Like if you want your game to be in miles per hour versus kilometers, this is going to be metric or not. So if metric is off, this should be kilometers, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, oh no, it's the opposite. Okay, so metric is kilometers per hour, not metric is miles per hour. Ball cam indicator, this basically says this little arrow thing in the middle, that's the ball cam indicator. All right, onto the interface settings here. These first three, there actually is one here that's important, and it's the nameplate scale. So you want this at 150 so that you can see people's nameplates, but you don't want it too big where it's just obnoxious. Nothing else here matters. This is if you want to know if you have a good connection. I turn this off so I don't get notifications. I turn this off so I don't get notifications. I don't like the boost color of that. But metric, this is obviously preference as well, but if you have this on, it's going to be kilometers per hour. If we can see, kilometers per hour. And then we have this off, it's going to be miles per hour, right? Whoops, not even trying to be mechanical. If we have this off, it's going to be miles per hour. So that's something interesting as well. I like kilometers just because more people know about it. So I can say, oh, I hit a 150 kilometer pinch. More people would know that than if I said I hit a 74 mile an hour pinch, if that's even the right number. Ball cam indicator. This is the on-screen indicator when ball cam is enabled. So if I press this, okay, mine doesn't work. I don't know. I thought that's supposed to say ball cam at the bottom left, but whatever. That doesn't really matter if I'm being honest. And then performance graph, if you have a bad PC and you want to know your settings, you can look at the top to see if you're having lag spikes or whatever it may be. Now, let me turn that off. Convert platform friends, I don't even know what that does, so I'm not going to pretend like I do. Now, video settings. So if you're on PC here, what I'd recommend if you're looking for now I have a decent PC, so I'm kind of being a bit hypocritical here. But if you're looking for the best frames possible, you want to copy these settings, right? So you want to have your best resolution, you want to have full screen. You do not want windowed or borderless, because borderless pretty much gives you input delay, I've heard. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, maybe it's placebo, but I don't want to, mess around and find out. I turn all this off, so I have high quality on, the highest FPS of my monitor. Yes, I have a 360 Hz monitor. And then here you want all of this on performance. All this on performance, low intensity, all this off. Now, you can do that if you want the best possible frames, but if we're being honest, I don't know if Focus Mod's enabled. If we're being honest, I don't really need help with the frame side of things. I'm trying to find where it says my frames, but okay, right here, draw FPS counter. So let's just see what my frames would be, just while recording as well. So in free play, we're at about 500, 700 something frames. I don't know exactly, it's moving very fast, it's hard to see. 500 something though, and this is while moving. If I stay still, obviously it's going to go significantly up to the 600s, and if I look straight down at the grass, it's going to get into the thousands. So yeah, that's something that's interesting, but I would just have it of the hertz of your monitor. If I had, a 1000 hertz monitor, I would play on capped, but there's no point in that because I can't even see those frames, and it's just unnecessary power on my PC that I don't really need to do. With audio, do whatever audio you want. Make sure it's on headphones and not speakers, because that would jack up your audio. I don't know what any of this other stuff does. I've never messed with these settings in my life. Chat, low key, I say block non-tactical quick chat if you're someone that's pretty prone to tilting. And then I don't even use voice chat, if I'm being honest. I think it's kind of silly because a lot of people just troll, or they're not even in there. And then with the quick chats, remove what to save. Low key, we do not need to be what is saving our teammates or our opponents. But yeah, that's pretty much all the settings I have for you guys. I'll drop a free play warm-up routine as well in the description, as well with the internet video about how to get the fastest internet possible in Rocket League. That way you can put yourself in a better position to actually win games. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like and subscribe and join my Discord server where you can apply for my coaching and see if we're a good fit. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.